Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. Hope you're staying safe out there. My goodness, it is crazy times out there. The rain, hurricane season is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. And we're not even dealing with the real stuff down here in South Florida, but it's already been a wild one with people trying to get around and whatnot. So everybody's safe. But I will say, proud of Mike McDaniel. Proud of Mike McDaniel. I haven't said that in a while. I want to give props where props is due, okay? I like the fact that they worked out in the rain today, in the slop, in the elements. You know, everybody has said this Dolphins team, not tough. Doesn't deal with the elements well. What a perfect day to do this. Get out there, sling that pigskin around. Maybe it was a tough day for some. The word on the street from the boots on the ground was that Tua handled it all right. And I like that. I like the fact that, just go out there a little bit. What's the harm in it, baby? You're gonna be in this building in this air condition. You can do that anytime. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of that on a super hot day. But a day like today, where it's raining cats and dogs, it looks very ominous outside, but not quite crazy lightning. And also, like, the field is like 4 feet from inside. So if it got like super dangerous, they could just go, run inside. But I saw that today. I was like, because we were even joking about this on the radio show today. When I saw the elements, I'm like, that's an inside day. That just is like a throwaway line. And then when I saw that they had actually worked out, I was like, all right, look at you, Mike McDaniel, trying to learn, trying to really be about actions, right? Like, didn't he say that last week? Where he's like, it's not on a T-shirt, it's not on a poster. You just got to be about it. And I was like, the I wish it was hotter guy is now like saying he's not about T-shirts. It's a funny thing. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy element out there. But I like the fact that we're in this. Now, as I come on here, there's been a couple of switch arounds on the stories today because the story today around the world that is Jonnu Smith, the first thing that was reported was today by Adam Schefter. And that was that the Pittsburgh Steelers were unlikely to trade for Jonnu Smith. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird because it had been reported originally by Schefter that Jonnu Smith and the Miami Dolphins, like that the Dolphins had discussions with the Steelers, Arthur Smith, that's the trade talk. He comes out today, he goes, unlikely. I was like, oh, all right. So are they engaged with anybody else? Does that mean that the trade talks are off? What the hell does that mean? Mike McDaniel addressed the Jonnu Smith stuff today very vaguely, as he's become, I will give Mike McDaniel some more growth on this. He has become very concise in not talking about things he doesn't want to talk about. He's gotten a lot more efficient with that too. But Adam Schefter, as I record this a little after 6 p.m., so dangerous. I understand this. I could record this. Boom. Jonnu Smith could be gone. But I have a bigger picture thing than just the Jonnu Smith thing here. I'm confused because I want to touch on a couple of guys here. But he says, back in it. The Steelers renewed conversations today with Dolphins tight end Jonnu Smith, who was seeking a new contract. The trade between the Steelers and Dolphins is still alive. That's interesting. Because it's not really talking about the trade talks, it's talking about the contract talks. So they renewed conversations with Drew Rosenhaus and Jonnu Smith and Rosenhaus Sports and all their people, and now are getting onto the element of, where are we at with this trade? So that's interesting. Almost seems to me like now if you kind of unwind it a little bit, were the demands too high on the contract? I don't know, but that I thought was a pretty fascinating tweet there by Adam Schefter to talk about what kind of money is Jonnu Smith speaking, which it was reported by Ian Rapoport that it was a lot, which I understand Jonnu Smith wanting a lot of money. First of all, who doesn't want a lot of money? Secondly, you're pushing 30 years old. You just come off this career year. This is your time. This is your time to strike oil. This is not your time to be a good company man. The unfortunate thing is that everybody else were rat finks with it blowing up in the Dolphins' face with the money last year. And so that's not his fault. But he's also not the only guy that this is going to affect. And this was noticeable today to others who were in attendance today at Dolphins OTAs. And this one worries me because I could deal with Jonnu Smith leaving the team. I think the Dolphins would be okay with Jonnu Smith leaving the team. I wouldn't like it. I don't think they're a better team. They're a worse team without him. But I think with their weapons, with what else they have at their repertoire, I think the Dolphins could be okay. They basically just had an offense last year for the first time with a tight end, and it was the worst version of their offense that they had ever had. And I know that saying it with Tua. Okay, don't be cute. But to also learn today that Zach Sieler, my guy, was not at Dolphins workouts. That one made me nervous because I was like, oh, man. Are they? Because it was noticeable that Zach Sieler, who is my faves, love Zach Sieler on the Dolphins. I've loved him before anybody gave a rat's ass when he was living in an RV, and I was just sitting here in my living room going, Sieler it on up. Zach Sieler not on the Miami Dolphins would break me if that were to happen. I'm not saying it's a risk. I'm not saying that it's happening. I don't know. But it is what it is. Zach Sieler missing workouts because he also wants a new contract. And I got to be honest with you, it's a little interesting that the Miami Dolphins are at a spot right now where, remember when the Christian Wilkins talks were kind of dead, they gave some of that dough to Zach Sieler. They paid him. They got a bargain deal. Now they're at a spot where Zach Sieler's got back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, which was the big knock on Christian Wilkins. Why you want to pay Christian Wilkins? He's also not only been that, but he's also been the face of the offseason, right? Like when the Dolphins have tried to go like leadership, pinnacle example, all that type of stuff, they've put out Zach Sieler. Who's the guy talking to the rookies? Zach Sieler. He just seems to have exemplified everything. And you want to talk about toughness, plays every play, not a diva, but not at OTAs, which, look, I mean, what the hell is he going to do at OTAs? He can't touch anybody, so what the hell's the difference? I'm pretty sure Zach Sieler can roll out of bed mauling people. He's a grizzly bear. But it is noticeable. I mean, you have a guy here who is also represented by the same agency, Drew Rosenhaus. And Drew Rosenhaus, who is basically, this is the guy, I mean, just based on number of signings, I would say is the agent that Chris Grier has the strongest relationship with. It's also his hometown team. I mean, Drew's a Miami guy. This is, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't say he's the shadow GM of the Dolphins, but I would say like he has fed a plenty of guys to Chris Grier to bring them to the Miami Dolphins. And so for him to be away from OTAs, it made me wonder a couple things. One, all right, what drama level is this going to hit? Because defensive tackle, that's a primo position. That's a lot of money, right? The Dolphins are not in a position. So are the Dolphins making a choice right now between Jonnu Smith, Zach Sieler? I think they're making the right choice. Because this is a position they need. All right, they just drafted a rookie to fill the other need next to him. They have nobody. And I think Zach Sieler probably knows he has the Dolphins by the giant truck nuts that probably hang off the back of his car. Okay? He knows. And this is a man who also is, what is Zach Sieler? Zach Sieler is 29 as well. I think also knows, like, hey, this is the time to cash in. And you're putting me in front of everybody on the face. Okay, cool. Let's pony it on up. And so if the Dolphins are in a spot where it's like, hey, we're going to have a little bit of money shake loose from the Ramsey thing, we got to do right by one of our guys. Now, this is probably the guy we got to do because we don't got nobody behind him. Tight end, look, dude, the Dolphins, they've kind of spit in the face of tight end the entire time Mike McDaniel's here. They franchised Mike Gesicki, didn't give a rat's ass about giving it to Mike Gesicki. They have Julian Hill, who I love to death, basically out there with rhinoceros hooves, fumbling the ball all over the place. You can't afford to lose Zach Sieler. You just can't. I mean, if Zach Sieler is genuinely going to make a stink, and the Dolphins are going to be like, meh, you might as well just tank the season. Like, honestly, the Dolphins should probably just shop around and be like, hey, who wants Zach Sieler? Zach Sieler is probably the only guy, if we're talking about, like, legitimately could get you a first-round pick, this is probably the guy who could get you, like, a primo top draft haul on your roster, right? Like, yes, someone's going to have to pay him, but who's not going to want a game wrecker? So if the Dolphins are truly going to go into rehab, now, I'm going to be rats off a ship on the season if that were to happen. I'm not advocating for this to happen. But when I saw, like, I'm not making a big deal out of it. I don't, whatever. There are guys who should probably be there because they've been a pain in the ass, and there are guys that I get it. This has become too much of a thing of like, oh, I'm not overreacting, but everything's a sign, right? Everything is a taste and tea leaves of where we're at. And Zach Sieler, the guy plays his ass off, brings it every single game. Durable as hell. The only guy who could take him down is Liam Eichenberg poking him in the eye at practice, right? So getting this development, it feels very much like we're going towards, okay, Steelers, Jonnu Smith, that puppy's happening. And then Zach Sieler, if they're going to pay anybody, he's the guy. They're not going to pay Jonnu Smith. And if you had to choose between the two, to be honest with you, that's what I agree with. Because you have, there's not really anybody. He's the most irreplaceable guy on the team right now, outside of quarterback. That's the facts. Like, everybody else, even, Teron Armstead, this argument was made about plenty of years, right? No, he's gone. Now you have rookies and whatever. This guy's the most irreplaceable guy. And if he's unhappy with his contract and the Dolphins have to make a choice and they're going to be really limited on spending, but you cannot afford to have a season without him and you're dubbing him as the leader, the right way to do things or whatever, well, then you got to take care of him. And I understand the Dolphins did just give him a deal, and there'll be people who'd be like, well, cool, let's be grown-ups. And this is a guy, like, mind you, here's the thing with Zach Sieler. Just watch the Miami Dolphins cheapskate his best friend, who's now in Las Vegas, and you don't think, like, if there was an inkling that Zach Sieler was going to make a stink, that Christian Wilkins won't be banging down the door of Tom Brady and Pete Carroll being like, go get my road dog, and you got Wilkins and you got Zach Sieler and you got Max Crosby all there together. Woo. So I don't know, man. I just saw that and I was like, let's do it. Let's see what that's going to mean for the Miami Dolphins. But it would break my heart if they lost him. I don't know. I'll watch. Obviously, I'll watch. But it just, I couldn't. Sielerless Dolphins. That would make me sad. Jesus. Whew. But anywho, props for practicing in the rain. Love that. Love Tua being great in the slop. Love that. Love Chop Robinson getting the orange jersey, chopping Tua. It's a chopping Tua orange week. And, we'll monitor where this Jonnu Smith thing is going, but it seems like there's a little momentum as I record this that he's moving towards a deal towards the Steelers.